You know how sometimes you walk into a room and you just feel it? That little shift in the air, like when you step outside and the barometric pressure's dropped right before a storm. Your gut says something's off. But you ignore it. Because it's family. Because you tell yourself you're reading into things. That was me. Sarah Miller. 38 years old, single, drives a 2004 Toyota Camry with a clutch that slips if you don't baby it just right. I'm the one they call when the babysitter cancels. I'm the one they call when dad's doctor appointment needs driving. I'm reliable Sarah. And last Saturday, I was the one they called to celebrate my big brother Greg's 15th wedding anniversary. Greg and Lisa. The golden couple. You know the type. Greg sells houses, or at least he tells everyone he does. I think mostly he leases office space and calls himself an entrepreneur. Big F-150 in the driveway, lawn so green it looks painted, American flag on a pole he installed himself. Lisa's Instagram makes their life look like a catalog spread. Every photo filtered, every caption full of hashtags about blessed this and grateful that. The dinner was at Rossi's, this Italian place downtown that's been there since before we were born. Antonio's the head waiter. Mustache you could lose a pencil in, been working there 20 years. He's seen everything. First communions, wedding proposals, divorce dinners where nobody talks. He knows the Miller family. Has seen us come through those doors for every occasion since I was in braces. I wore my blue dress. The one I got at Goodwill 3 years ago, tag still on it, $22. Best $22 I ever spent. Fits me perfect. I even put on earrings. Drove the old Camry, gave the clutch a little extra gas on the hill, told myself tonight was going to be nice. Just family. Good food. Maybe Greg would actually say thank you for once. The parking lot was full, which should have been my first clue. I counted 6 cars I recognized. Greg's truck, of course. Mom's Buick. Lisa's SUV. Her parents' Lincoln. Her sister's Honda. Her brother's Jeep. That was when my stomach did that thing. That little clench. I walked in anyway. Antonio spotted me from across the room. Gave me a nod. Except it wasn't his usual nod. It was slower. Like he was already sorry about something. The table was in the back. Long one, 12 chairs. They always put big parties back there, by the brick wall with the fake grapevines hanging down. And when I got close enough to see who was sitting there, I stopped. Greg was at the head of the table. Lisa next to him, wearing something white and expensive looking. Her parents on one side. Her sister and brother-in-law. Her brother and his wife. Some cousins I vaguely recognized. Mom. Mom was there, squeezed in near the end, next to Lisa's aunt. And then there was the other end of the table. Where I didn't see a chair for myself. No place setting. No wine glass. No folded napkin standing up like a little soldier. Sarah. You made it. Greg spotted me. Stood up, arms wide like he was greeting a client. Big smile. Big voice. Hey, listen, we ran out of room at the family table, you know how these things go. Rossi's, they're sticklers about fire codes. He laughed. Laughed. Lisa leaned over. We asked if they could squeeze one more, I swear. But you know how it is. These old places, tiny tables. She draped her hand over Greg's arm. Family seats only, she said. Just like that. Like it was a restaurant policy, not her choice. You understand, right? Family seats only. I looked at Mom. Mom was studying her menu like it held the secrets of the universe. She would not look up. She knew. She absolutely knew. We got you a table, Greg said, pointing. Right over there. Still close. You can still hear all the speeches and everything. The table he pointed to was a little too top by the kitchen door. The kind of table where the servers line up before they burst through the swinging doors with trays held high. Every time the door swung open, you'd get a blast of heat and the sound of clattering dishes. I looked at that table. Then I looked back at the big table. At Lisa's family. At my brother. Something happened in my chest. Not a crack or a break. More like a switch. A little click. Like when you've been driving with a bad clutch for 5 years and one day you realize you don't have to anymore. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just nodded. Sure, Greg. No problem. He actually looked relieved. Like he'd expected me to make a scene. Well, I guess that's what he thought reliable Sarah did. 'Cause drama. Never mind that I'd bailed him out of that roof repair 2 years ago. Never mind that I'd driven his kids to soccer every Thursday for 3 months when Lisa had her back problems. Never mind that I'd co-signed a loan for him when nobody else would. I walked to the little table and sat down. Antonio came over. His mustache twitched. He didn't say anything. Just put a menu in front of me. And a wine glass. On the house, he murmured. Pinot Grigio. That was the moment I decided. Right there, with the kitchen door swinging behind me. I was going to let them eat. Eat, and drink, and toast 15 years of marriage. And I was going to be the perfect guest at my little two-top. Smile. Wave when they waved. Raise my glass when Greg raised his. And I was going to order whatever I wanted. So I did. Appetizer? Yes. The calamari. 2 glasses of wine. A Caesar salad. The most expensive pasta on the menu, lobster ravioli with a cream sauce. And then I looked at the wine list. Greg always ordered bottles for the table. They were probably on their 3rd already, clinking glasses, laughing about something Greg said. I pointed to a Cabernet. A glass of this one, please, Antonio. He glanced at the listed price. Looked back at me. Raised one eyebrow. Are you certain, Sarah? Positive. He poured it. It was dark red, almost purple, and it tasted like something that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. I ate slowly. Sipped my wine. Watched the show at the big table. Greg gave a toast. Lisa cried a little, the kind of tears that don't mess up mascara. Mom beamed. Her son. Her perfect son. I imagined her practicing her smile in the mirror at home, the one with the clock that runs 5 minutes slow. She probably showed up early just to make sure her spot at that table was secure. At one point Greg caught my eye and raised his glass. Mouthing something. Probably we'll catch up later. I raised my glass back. Smiled. And then dinner ended. Plates cleared. Coffee ordered. Lisa's mother had tiramisu. Greg and Lisa cut into some fancy chocolate thing. More photos. More Instagram moments. Then Greg signaled for the check. Antonio walked across the dining room. He was holding the leather folder. And instead of heading to the big table, he walked straight toward mine. I could see the confusion on Greg's face. He put his hand up. Hey, Antonio. The check. It's here. Waving him over. Antonio paused. Turned his head slowly. The entire restaurant seemed to go quiet, or maybe that's just how it felt to me. I'm sorry, Mr. Miller, Antonio said. His voice carried. The man had been doing this 20 years. He knew exactly how to project. But this check is for Miss Miller. She requested her bill separately. Separately. The word hung in the air like smoke. You could hear chairs shifting. Lisa's mother stopped mid-bite on her tiramisu. Mom finally looked up from her coffee cup. Antonio set the leather folder in front of me. I opened it. $2,247. Lobster ravioli. 2 appetizers. 4 glasses of wine. The Cabernet that cost more than Greg's tie. Plus the private room fee they'd tacked onto the big table's reservation. And I knew, Greg must have asked them to add that fee to someone else's tab. Originally. Before I'd quietly told Antonio to put everything, on my separate check. The big table was staring at me now. Greg half stood up, his napkin falling off his lap. Sarah, what the hell are you? I closed the leather folder and set it down gently. I didn't raise my voice. I looked at my brother, and then at my mother, and then at Lisa and her whole perfect family. I pulled my credit card out of my purse. But I didn't put it in the folder. Not yet. First, I unfolded a piece of paper I'd brought with me. A list. Handwritten. Lined paper, the kind from a drugstore notebook. I'd made it 3 days ago, after Greg called to invite me. While I sat on my little apartment balcony, next to the one plant I've managed not to kill, a scrappy pot of mint, the one thing that just keeps coming back no matter how much gets torn off. The list was very long. And I was about to read it out loud. The paper crinkled in my hand. You could hear it. The whole restaurant had gone quiet, not the dramatic kind, but the kind where forks stop moving midair and waiters freeze against the wall. Antonio stood by the kitchen door, arms crossed, that old mustache of his twitching like he'd been waiting 30 years for someone to do exactly what I was about to do. I looked at the list. My handwriting's not pretty, never has been. My third-grade teacher, Mrs. Patterson, used to say I held a pencil like I was trying to choke it. But every number on this page was clear. Crystal clear. Greg, I said. My voice came out steady. I was surprised by that. Inside, my heart was punching my ribs like a boxer working a heavy bag. You want to know what this is? My brother's face had gone red. Not embarrassed red. More like the red he gets when the Packers fumble on the 1-yard line. Confused red. Angry red. He was still half standing, one hand gripping the edge of the table, his knuckles white against the white tablecloth. Sarah, sit down, my mother said. She said it like I was 12 years old and making a scene at Thanksgiving. Her voice had that tight little tremble in it, the one she uses when she's worried the neighbors might hear. I'm already sitting, Mom. I pointed at my little table by the kitchen door. This is my seat. Remember? Family seats only. Lisa put her hand on Greg's arm. She does that a lot. It's her signature move, the supportive wife hand placement that actually means shut up, you're making it worse. Sarah, honey, we didn't mean anything by it. There just wasn't room at the main table. You understand. Oh, I understand, I said. I understand perfectly. That's why I've been keeping track. I held up the paper. The first item was from 4 years ago. August 2019. Greg called me on a Tuesday afternoon. His roof was leaking. Water coming through the ceiling in Tommy's bedroom. He needed $8,000 by Friday or the contractor was walking. You remember that, Greg? Greg's mouth opened. Nothing came out. He looked like a bass I once saw my dad catch at the lake, gulping at air that wasn't going to save him. I gave you the money, I continued. I emptied my emergency fund. You said you'd pay me back by Christmas. It's been 4 Christmases, Greg. 4. My mother set her wine glass down. The stem hit the table too hard. Sarah, this is not the time or place. You're right, Mom. The time was 4 years ago. The place was every single time I showed up and nobody asked me how I was doing. They just asked what I could give. I moved to the next line. September 2020 to December 2020. I drove Tommy and Emma to school every morning, picked them up every afternoon, took Tommy to baseball practice Tuesdays and Thursdays, took Emma to piano Wednesdays, and babysat every other Friday so you and Lisa could have date night. 3 months. Do you know how much gas I put in my car, Greg? Do you know what that did to my clutch, driving those hills on Oak Street twice a day? Lisa's hand slipped off Greg's arm. Her Instagram smile was gone. She was looking at me like I'd grown a second head. "Sarah, that was family helping family," she said. "That's what sisters do." "Funny thing," I said. "When I had the flu in January 2021, I called and asked if you could drop off some soup. You said you were too busy with Tommy's basketball tournament. You suggested I order DoorDash." I didn't say it with anger. I said it like I was reading a weather report. That seemed to bother them more. Greg finally found his voice. "So what is this? You're going to charge me for being a sister? For helping your own nephew and niece? That's cold, Sarah. That's real cold." "No, Greg. I'm not charging you." I set the credit card on top of the leather bill folder. "I'm paying for tonight. All of it. Every appetizer, every entree, every bottle of wine. Including the bottle of Barolo you ordered without even looking at the price because you assumed the check was my problem." I heard Lisa whisper something to Greg. I caught the words "she's lost it." "I'm paying," I repeated. "But then I'm going to read this list. The whole thing. And when I'm done, I want you to look me in the eye and tell me one thing you've ever done for me. One thing. One time you showed up for me without being asked." The main table was silent. The kids, Tommy and Emma, were staring at their plates. Tommy's girlfriend looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. My dad, who'd been quiet this whole time, was studying the bread basket like it contained the secrets of the universe. "Let's keep going," I said. March 2022. You and Lisa wanted to refinance the house. Your credit was shot, Greg. Too many late payments on the F-150. The bank wouldn't touch you. So you asked me to co-sign. I said no at first. Remember? I said no. I waited. The restaurant was so quiet I could hear the ice machine humming in the kitchen. Mom called me for 3 straight days. She said family doesn't let family struggle. She said it would break her heart if you lost the house. She said Tommy and Emma would have to change schools. So I signed, Greg. I put my name on your loan. If you stop making payments, they come after me. Me. The one who lives in a 1-bedroom apartment with a sick clutch and a patio mint plant. My mother's face had gone pale. The kind of pale that makeup can't hide. "Sarah, I never meant to pressure you. I just thought, you thought I didn't have anything better to do with my life. You thought my job, my time, my money, they were all just extra. Available. Because I don't have a husband and kids, right? Because I'm the single one. The one who didn't give you grandchildren." I folded the paper again. My hands were trembling now, but I wasn't going to stop. "So here's what's going to happen. I'm paying this bill tonight. $2,247. Consider it my last contribution to the Miller Family Fund." I stood up. My chair scraped the floor, a small, ugly sound in the heavy silence. "But after tonight, I'm done. No more emergency loans. No more free babysitting. No more co-signing. No more being the one who shows up because no one else will. You want family to mean something? Then act like it. All of you." Greg finally sat back down. Hard. His chair creaked under him. He looked at Lisa, then at Mom, then at the bill folder on my table. The leather folder with my credit card sitting on top. "Sarah, you're making a mistake," he said. But his voice had lost all its gas. Just like my Camry on a cold morning, sputtering, trying to catch, going nowhere. "No, Greg." I picked up my purse. The mistake was thinking that if I gave enough, someone would finally give back. I've been making that mistake for 20 years. Tonight's the night I stop. I took one step toward the door. My mother stood up. "Sarah Miller, if you walk out that door right now, don't expect to be welcomed back into this family." I stopped. I turned around. And I smiled, a real smile, the kind I hadn't felt on my face in years. Mom, I haven't been in this family for a long time. I've just been on the payroll. Antonio opened the kitchen door for me. That old waiter with his mustache and his knowing eyes, he gave me a small nod. The kind men give each other after a good play in a game. Respect without words. I walked out into the parking lot. The air was cool and clean. My Camry sat under a streetlight, looking exactly like what it was, a car that had been running on fumes for years, held together by habit and hope. I got in. Turned the key. The engine coughed once, then caught. And you know what? For the first time in 20 years, the drive home felt like going somewhere new. The first week after that dinner was quiet. Weirdly quiet. The kind of quiet that settles over a house after a big storm. Everything looks the same, but you know something's changed under the surface. I went back to work at the community college. I watered my mint plant on the balcony. I fixed the clutch on my Camry, cost me $900, but Antonio's nephew Marco gave me a deal at his shop. I figured the car deserved some attention, seeing how it had carried me through 20 years of family dinners and emergency babysitting runs and trips to Home Depot for Greg's renovation projects. No calls from my mother. No texts from Greg. My phone stayed dark, like a window nobody was looking through anymore. And honestly, it felt like taking off a heavy coat you didn't know you were wearing. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, my father showed up at my office. I was sorting through financial aid applications when I looked up and saw him standing in the doorway. Frank Miller. 67 years old. Retired post office supervisor. A man who had spent his entire marriage letting my mother steer the ship while he stayed below deck, organizing his fishing lures and pretending not to hear the arguments. He looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I was just seeing him clearly for the first time. "Your mother doesn't know I'm here," he said. I leaned back in my chair. "Well, Dad. That's probably the most interesting thing you've said to me in a decade. Have a seat." He sat down in the visitor chair, the one reserved for students who were failing their classes and needed to explain themselves. It suited him, in a way. "Greg's business is in trouble," he said. "More trouble than anyone knew. He took out a second mortgage on the house 6 months ago. Lisa doesn't even know." I waited. Didn't say anything. The silence was a tool now. I'd learned that from watching Antonio and his perfect timing. "Your mother found out last week," my father continued. "After the dinner. Greg came clean. He's about to lose everything. The house, the cars, the kids' college funds." He paused, rubbing his hands together like he was trying to warm them up. "She wants me to ask you for help." I almost laughed. Almost. Let me guess. She wants me to co-sign another loan? Or maybe just hand over my savings? I've got about $12,000 in the bank. It's not much, but I'm sure Greg could use it to make one mortgage payment before the bank takes the house anyway. My father looked at the floor. "She wants you to move back home. Sell your apartment. Help with the mortgage payments long term. Be part of the family again." There it was. The real reason. Not love. Not reconciliation. Just another financial transaction dressed up in family words. "Dad, let me ask you something." I leaned forward, putting my elbows on the desk. "All those years, the babysitting, the loans, the roof repair, the carpooling, did you ever once think it was unfair? Did you ever once say, hey, maybe we shouldn't ask Sarah to give up another weekend while Greg sits at home watching the game?" He was quiet for a long time. Outside the window, a grounds crew was mowing the lawn, the smell of cut grass drifting through the screen. Normal life. Regular Tuesday afternoon. "I thought about it," he finally said. "But your mother, she has this way of making things seem reasonable. And you were always so strong, Sarah. You handled everything. I figured you didn't need anyone to stand up for you. You figured wrong." "I know." He stood up slowly, like an old man getting out of a chair at the doctor's office. "I know that now. Watching you walk out of that restaurant, it was like watching someone finally put down a weight they'd been carrying so long they forgot it was there. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope. Placed it on my desk. What's this? Your mother's birthday is next month. She's turning 66. Greg and Lisa are hosting a party at their place, probably the last one before the bank takes it. She wants you there. He paused at the door. But I wanted you to have the choice before she called and made it into something else. You can come or not come. Either way, I'll understand. After he left, I opened the envelope. It was an invitation, handwritten on expensive cream-colored paper. My mother's handwriting, the same neat cursive she'd used to write notes excusing me from school when I was a kid. Please join us to celebrate Linda's 66th birthday. Family only. Family only. Those 2 words again. The same words Greg had used to put me at a separate table. The same words that had been used for 20 years to mean, Sarah, give us what we need, but don't expect anything back. I put the invitation in my desk drawer and got back to work. 2 days before the party, my phone finally rang. My mother. Sarah. Her voice was careful, measured, like someone walking across thin ice. Your father said he gave you the invitation. He did. I want you to come. We need to talk about everything. As a family. I was standing in my kitchen, looking at my mint plant. It had grown wild while I wasn't paying attention, spilling over the sides of the pot. Green and tough and impossible to kill. Mom, I'll come, I said. On one condition. What condition? The dinner is at Greg's house, right? Potluck? Yes, Lisa is organizing the menu. Why? Tell Lisa I'm bringing my own chair. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could hear the kitchen clock ticking in the background, that old clock that had been 5 minutes slow for as long as I could remember. Your own chair, she repeated. What does that mean, Sarah? It means exactly what it sounds like. I'll bring my own chair. I'll sit wherever I want. And when the bill comes, whatever bill there is, don't hand it to me. Sarah, this birthday is your birthday. I know. And I'll bring you a present. But I'm not bringing my checkbook. I'm not bringing my guilt. And I'm not bringing the old version of me who would sit in the corner and pay for the privilege of being ignored. Another pause. Longer this time. All right, my mother said quietly. Bring your chair. The day of the party, I loaded a folding chair into the back of my Camry. It wasn't anything special. One of those metal ones with the padded seat, the kind you take to outdoor concerts or kids' soccer games. I'd bought it at a garage sale for $8. I also brought a present for my mother, a framed photo of the 2 of us from when I was about 12 years old. We were standing in the backyard of our old house, both of us covered in dirt from planting tomatoes. My mother was laughing at something I'd said. I'd forgotten that sound. Forgotten that version of her. Before Greg's success became the family religion and my singleness became the family shame. When I pulled up to Greg's house, I could see the party was already in full swing. Cars lined the driveway. Balloons tied to the mailbox. The smell of barbecue drifting from the backyard. I grabbed my folding chair and walked up to the front door. Lisa opened it. Her smile flickered when she saw the chair, but she recovered fast, years of Instagram practice. Sarah. You made it. Come in, come in. Everyone's in the backyard. I followed her through the house. It looked different than the last time I'd been there. Emptier. Some of the expensive decorations were gone. The big flat-screen TV in the living room had been replaced with a smaller model. The signs of financial trouble were everywhere if you knew where to look. In the backyard, about 20 people were gathered around the grill. Neighbors, mostly. A few cousins I hadn't seen in years. My mother was sitting in a decorated chair at the center of the patio, looking like a queen holding court. Greg was at the grill with his Kiss the Cook apron, flipping burgers and trying hard to look like a man who wasn't about to lose his house. When they saw me carrying the folding chair, the conversation stopped. One by one, heads turned. I unfolded the chair, set it down at the edge of the patio, not in the corner, but not in the center either, and sat down. "Happy birthday, Mom." I placed the framed photo in her lap. My mother looked at the picture for a long time. Her hands trembled slightly. The backyard was so quiet I could hear the burger sizzling on the grill. "This was the summer we planted those early girl tomatoes," she said softly. "Do you remember? The rabbits got into them and ate every single one before they ripened. I remember you stayed up all night building a fence out of chicken wire. Said nobody was going to take what you'd worked so hard to grow." My mother looked up at me. Something passed between us, not forgiveness, exactly. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of understanding. Greg cleared his throat loudly. "Well, this is real nice." Sarah brings her own chair. Very dramatic. Really making a statement. Greg. Lisa put a hand on his arm, but he shook it off. "No, I want to know. What's next, Sarah? You gonna read another list? Tell everyone about all the money you lent us? Go ahead. It's not like things can get much worse for me." I could have humiliated him. I had the ammunition, the second mortgage, the failed investments, the lies he'd told Lisa. My father had given me all of it when he visited my office. But I didn't say any of that. Not because Greg deserved mercy. He didn't. But because I was tired. Tired of scorecards and resentments and letting other people's choices control my life. I didn't come here to fight, Greg. I stood up from my folding chair. I came to give Mom a birthday present and eat a burger. That's it. After everything you said at the restaurant, everything I said at the restaurant was true. But I'm done repeating myself. I walked over to the grill, picked up a burger from the platter, put it on a bun. Added some potato salad. Sat back down in my folding chair and started eating. One of the cousins, Jenny, who ran a hair salon in Dayton, pulled up a chair next to me. "So," she said, "tell me about this Camry of yours. I heard it's a survivor." I smiled. "You have no idea." The party continued around us. People ate. People talked. The sun started to go down behind the oak tree, that same tree that dropped leaves on the neighbor's driveway every year and nobody ever cleaned up. At some point, my mother got up from her decorated chair and walked over to where I was sitting. "Your chair," she said. "What about it?" She reached down and touched the metal armrest. "It looks comfortable." "It is. Could you bring it again? For Thanksgiving?" I looked up at her. "I don't know, Mom. Are there going to be separate tables at Thanksgiving?" She shook her head slowly. "No. No separate tables." "Then maybe I'll bring a pumpkin pie instead." "That would be nice." She turned and walked back to her seat. Just before she sat down, she looked at the photo I'd given her one more time. The one from the tomato garden. The one where she was laughing. For just a moment, one brief, flickering moment, I saw that woman again. Not the mother who had spent 20 years taking from me and calling it family. But the one who stayed up all night building fences. The one who understood, somewhere deep down, what it meant to fight for what you'd grown. I finished my burger. I folded up my chair. I said my goodbyes. And then I drove home in my Camry, the clutch working smooth now, the engine running quiet, the road stretching out ahead of me like something that was finally mine.